going on, fellas?
What's up, everybody? You can hear me loud and clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you? I see my screen is frozen.
I see that as well.
But it's all good. Let's see. Uno momento.
Morning, John. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, good morning, brothers. I'm tagging everybody in right now.
Okay, gotcha.
Getting everybody in on the show. I'm doing this thing where when we started and I put it on my page, boom, I just start tagging everybody in it. Like Joe's having a little difficulty.
Oh, yeah.
How you doing, brother?
Doing all right, man. It's bright and early, you know. Top of the morning, you know how we do.
Yeah.
How was your week, man?
Awesome. Busy. Getting ready for this Thanksgiving. Of course, the week of sales is up. I have to make sure my productivity is up and my inventory because, always sales always up during these holidays. So I start getting prepared around October. So, we
for, right?
move.
I said that's what they were designed for, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
End of the year, got to try to help, business owners to maximize profits and, to finish up the fiscal year. Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly right. And that's kind of how I look at it when we're talking about these holiday seasons. It's really, if you in the business, it's like it's a wave. It's creating a wave of money to where get people to psychologically spend money, right? And you either in the wave or you're not in the wave. If you're in the wave, you love it. If you're not in the wave, then it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. But hey, you're benefiting from it, and other people benefit. You serving people, you providing them what they want, and hey, that's how
Absolutely.
it
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting week on my side, dealing in the capital markets and everything. Interest rates, where they are, and just operating in the investment, commercial real estate space. A lot of capital is pulling out, liquidity shrinking up. Lots of layoffs are just coming down the pipeline. So things are real tight right now, just because the cost of credit, the cost of debt is too expensive. And the smart investors, they've already pulled out. You still got the new investors trying to, the new investors, they always come late, right? So
Yeah.
You got the young investors that's trying to get in, but then they don't understand the risk of having high interest rates, and so they'll be the ones who suffer, who blow up, kind of like the crypto exchange, FTX, right?
So you think the big layoffs are dealing with the interest rates that's going on right now?
Exactly. That's exactly what they are designed for. Like the Federal Reserve, they're a war against inflation. Their answer is to create massive unemployment. They have to. That's the only way they can stop people from spending. When people are spending in the market, it creates that supply demand issue where they bidding the prices of things up. And so to stop that, they raise interest rates because a lot of money that's spent in the system is not money, it's actually credit. So you cut the flow of credit off, and that causes the spending to go down. And when the spending goes down, inflation should follow. So that's why they had to make sure people are unemployed.
Wow.
Yeah, so I can show you guys a chart. It's interesting. I made a chart that shows interest rates as they go up and down, and the unemployment rate also. And what you can see is that the interest rate is a leading indicator, and the unemployment rate is a lagging indicator, about 6 months to a year. And every time the interest rates spike up and it comes down, you'll see the unemployment rate follow, spike up, and come down the same way the interest rates do. So it's designed to take unemployment up.
Wow.
Yeah, so in the next 6 months, the spike in interest rates you guys see now, we have, super high interest rates right now, and the unemployment will follow within the next 6 months. You guys will see, and it's already happening now, right? So you see like a lot of major companies, Redfin laid off like 13,000, Meta is laying off like a lot of people, Twitter laying off a lot of people, Amazon they laying off 10,000. I think Cisco. Yeah, layoffs is happening right now, and it's crazy because it's right ahead of the holidays. right?
Man,
Right ahead of the holidays, which I really didn't think it was going to do it before the holidays. I was thinking it was going to wait till after the holidays, but they're doing it now because again, they're trying to avoid having to pay them bonuses next year and all that stuff. They got to go ahead and cut them expenses now.
Wow, crazy. Welcome back, Joe.
bottom line. Welcome, hey man,
Yo.
back from the tech dead, but yeah, man, that's interesting when you talk about that stuff here, man. It's all about protecting that bottom line, baby. It's all about It's just a business move. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
Well, look, we got a good show today. Again, it is yours truly, Mr. Just Ask Joe. We also have my brother from another mother, brother John Yah, Esoteric Concepts, and brother Pierre, the godson. What's going on, fellas? It's another week. What's happening? Hey, I tell you what, I'm excited today. I'm excited.
Yeah, Joe got the craziest intros, man. Like I love how he like introduces you, he brings you on. It's kind of reminds you like it's such a kingly thing. It feels like the carpets are rolled out, the trumpets are playing, and you're just coming down. That's how I feel when Joe gives you the introduction.
That's right.
Hey man, you know what? I love what we do here, man, and I gotta make sure everybody knows it. That's what time it is. So first up to the gate, folks, we got this brother right here. This is, I don't even know what to say about this guy that I haven't said before, and this time I'm going to just bring him on. I'm going to bring him on with some hand claps because he deserves a hand clap. It's Mr. Bitcoin Campus himself with the 5-minute crypto wrap up, folks. It is Mr. Crypto Kenny. Come on, brother.
Yes. Good morning, Kings. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure always spending my Saturday morning with you guys. It gets my brain going, my occupation, my entrepreneur, juice is flowing, which is something that I always need, especially on a Saturday morning. But wanted to just come on here real quick and kind of just share a little bit about what Pierre was talking about as well, when it comes to kind of like what's happening in the market right now. The rates are so high. If you guys are understanding anything that's happening with crypto right now, there's a lot of fear going on in the market because of what happened with FTX. FTX was like the second largest exchange. They were a part of so many other projects, funding, giving money to people. And when you do a lot of research with what happened with the FTX debacle and Sam, their CEO, you start seeing that there was a lot of fraud and a lot of just a lot of scams that's been happening behind the scenes for quite some time. And then, people start looking at that and they think that's they start being afraid of crypto and afraid of investing because of that. But it's not the industry's fault. The industry is there. The industry works. Blockchain technology is growing. But what happens is you get corruption. Whenever you're dealing with money, whenever you're dealing with a lot of money, whenever you're dealing with people, whenever you're dealing with power, right after that is corruption. It's just it goes hand in hand. And you can't.
Is that kind of like the difference or the ever-long debate behind, whose fault it is behind the gun? Is it the gun's fault or is it the person that pulled the trigger? Same thing, right?
Exactly. I mean, if you I tell people all the time, if you carry a gun, the chances of you using it goes up 50%, 75%. So, and then the chance of you going to jail goes up even higher. So it's almost like, just like you said, if you're dealing with that
for the crypto world, when we start talking about FTX and everything with that big dump, there's no difference in trading when it comes to emotions in the stock world versus the crypto world. Things are based on emotions. So how does FTX play out emotionally among those who are serious investors in the crypto world?
Good question. FTX had a lot of major endorsements. If you guys look into the news, you're going to start seeing a lot of celebrities. I think Tom Brady was connected to FTX. There were so many big names. I'm not necessarily sure if Kim Kardashian was or whatever the case may be, but I wasn't looking more so at the celebrity side. I just know Tom Brady just because the name stuck out to me. But that being that it was the second largest exchange is going to create fear amongst a lot of people that have their crypto out there. Now, if you're someone that already is trading or investing into the crypto space, you should never leave the bulk of your money on an exchange. You know, these exchanges, if you look at their fine print and their contracts, you know, that you're signing before you even, you know, start using the platform, you know, a lot of them, they're allowed to use your money, the investor's money, if something happens to the platform. If they get into any type of financial trouble, they can take the money that's been used. Same thing with Coinbase. You know, they can take the money that's being used for investing and use that money to help them get themselves out of trouble. And when you think about that, you know, that's a very dangerous formula for a lot of these programs that are out there that are trying to, quote unquote, help the economy become a little bit better. But, you know, in terms of like interest rates are going up, you know, that's another thing that's slowing down a lot of the growth that's been happening behind the scenes for some of the major investors, because a lot of major investors, they use credit to build more income, more wealth. You know, you borrow and then you take that money that you borrow, the interest rates that you have may be low, right? So let's say you borrow $1,000 and they allow you to pay it back within 2 to 5 years and you only pay like 3% interest. But if you're able to take that money, invest it, and then make, you know, 10% interest, then it just makes it seems like a really good formula. So a lot of people do that type of investing to develop wealth. Well, you know, when the market is not that predictable and the interest rates are, you know, are not that strong, it's very difficult to do that. And I think FTX had something to do with over leveraging their position as a whole, right? And people do it all the time as well. And that's something that you could kind of learn. You'd have to study about, you know, your leverage and liquidity and all of that type of stuff in the market. I mean, Pierre was doing a pretty good job for talking about it overall in society and how that impacts everybody on a day-to-day basis and how they actually manipulate, you know, that practice. But, you know, in this segment of time, I just want to let everybody know, no matter what type of fear you have in any market, if you're going to develop wealth of any sort, you know, it's one thing you have to do is invest either your time, your extra time, or your extra money. There's no real other formula. So whenever you have extra money, you know, you get paid, you have an extra $100, or, you know, the weekend comes, you have an extra 20 hours of, you know, time that's quote unquote free, where you're not obligated to do some sort of specific task. Those are the times where wealth is being developed, because for those that educate themselves and invest their extra money, whether that extra $100 or that extra 20 hours of time, you know, that extra 20 hours of time, you could be watching or listening to music, watching TV or listening to music, or you could be reading books on, you know, becoming a better person, on personal growth. You know, in a year's time, if somebody watches 10 hours of TV or does 10 hours of reading, I'm not saying you're going to do reading the entire time, but I'm just giving you an example. In a year's time, those people will their conversations will be totally different. Their lifestyles will be totally different. The way that they think will be totally different. So you have to invest into yourself, into your family, into your friends, and into opportunities that can take your life to the next level. Because if you don't, you're going to be like a hamster on a spinning wheel.
There you have it, folks.
Brother Crypto, I want to recommend this book to you right here. It's called The Theory of Money and Credit. It's by Professor Ludwig Holmes, arguably the greatest economist that ever lived, my teacher. But he talks about everything with money, everything you need to know. And he talks about the crack up boom. He talks about how, because the government intervenes into the system, lowering interest rates, making money cheap to borrow, it creates a boom that is later followed by a bust every time. So the Austrian School of Economics developed the business cycle, created the business cycle, or discovered it, I should say. And so that's what we're known for, is understanding how the cycles work. This book right here, I'm gonna recommend for you.
Awesome.
There you have it, folks. And I hope everybody got that book. I hope everybody got that, because whether he recommends it to Brother Crypto Kenny, everybody and their mama should have that book. The Theory of Money and Credit. Ludwig von Mises, I think is how you enunciate that. All right, hey, Crypto Kenny, we appreciate you every week. We'll see you next week, same place, same time, brother.
Blessings, Kings. Until next time.
All right.
Absolutely. Peace, peace, peace. All right, folks, next up to the stage, we have, as usual, this other brother from another mother. And I'm going to tell you something, this brother right here, y'all know him, the stock spotlight, the smoothest brother on the Tipping Point show every week, none other than Brother Leonard Walker. The smooth tunes come and bring you to the stage. Nothing but stock tips and information. All right, brother, take it away.
All right. How we doing this morning, guys?
Morning.
All right.
Morning. Brother Pierre, I don't know if people caught that, but he was talking about those interest rates. That was some vital information when it comes to investing and thinking about your stocks and stuff. Because I got two of them for you today. One of them is one to maybe purchase now. The other one is one to maybe look out for. All right, so we're gonna go with the one that we want to purchase right now, and that's Pennant Park Floating Rate Capital. Ticker symbol PFLT. That's Papa Frank Larry Tom. Traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Okay, it's we're looking at it's right now it closed at $11.18 per share, so that's under $20 once again, under 15 matter of fact. It's got a yearly dividend of it pays a yearly dividend of $1.14, and this is a monthly dividend stock. So it pays a monthly dividend stock for about 10 cents per share. It's got a dividend yield of 10.20%. And what's important about this one is it's actually coming at a discount with its book value per share at $12.21. So it's more than $1 under what the book value is saying it usually is in the market. All right. It's got a 52-week high of $14.38 and a 52-week low of $9.26. This company's been around since 2010. It is a business development company providing loans for middle market private companies. It's been paying a dividend since 2011. Okay, since 2011. Pretty. Like I said, once again, this is one of these ones where you put it in your portfolio, and you pay attention. You just get paid. You just hold it and get paid. See, so and that's what we want to try to do. Turn these dividends over and buy more stocks with them. All right. The next one I got for you is a little bit riskier. I was doing some research on this one, but it's a little bit riskier, but you may want to take advantage of it right now, and that is Algonquin Power and Utility Corporation. Algonquin Power and Utility Corporation. You heard of that one before, John? Yeah?
I haven't.
Okay. All right. And I'll get into the reason why it's a little riskier in a little bit. Right now, it is trading under $10 a share. It is actually trading for $7.67 per share. It has a 72-cent per year yearly per share dividend. It has it pays 18 cents per quarter. It's a quarterly dividend. Also, it's a quarterly dividend at a 9.44% dividend yield. Right now, its book value per share is $8.30. So that's nearly that's nearly 75 cents lower than what it's going for in the market is what you can get it for, right? 52-week high was $16.01. 52-week low was $7.42. This is one to watch. All right, you may want to do some more little research on this because of what Pierre was talking about. This is a power company, obviously. All right, but they have two branches.
What's the ticket symbol?
Oh, I'm sorry. Ticker symbol is Alpha Quebec November AQN, and they trade on the New York Stock Exchange. That's Alpha Apple Queen November. Okay. It's a power company, and they offer two divisions. They have, obviously they do service with electric power and water to customers, but they also have a renewable energy where they're looking to go into to wind and solar. Now, what is going on with this company? This company lost about 18%. It dropped here real recently, and that is because of these interest rates that Pierre was talking about. These guys now are having to burn through cash, okay, to be able to fund some of the projects that they're doing. Okay, right. One of the projects they're doing is they're trying to acquire Kentucky Power. Okay, see, so this is a company that's trying to acquire Kentucky Power for those in the that use Kentucky Power in the Kentucky region. Um, and they're also trying to fund their renewable energy projects. And like I said, they're having to burn through cash to do so. So, like I said, this is one you might want to watch. You may not want to, pull the trigger on this one right away, but you may want to watch it and say, okay, what is this? If these prices stay low, because these companies, power companies, are going to rebound eventually, right?
Awesome.
And,
Yeah.
and you want to be in position where, while these stocks are low like this, where you can buy up a bunch of this stock. So when they rebound, and it's not so much necessarily about growth, it's about, like I said, about the dividend. Okay, see, so it can offer you a steady dividend. So far, it's had a 13-year. So far, it's has a 13-year dividend streak of paying dividends, not just dividends, paying dividends, but also paying dividends, increasing their dividends. So that was one of the concerns right now. It shareholders have is, are they going to be able to even pay a dividend or increase their dividend with the interest rates doing what they do? So, like I said, that's my two right now. I see the theme is Thanksgiving. Um, my take on that is this is, should Black people be celebrating Thanksgiving? I think we should celebrate, we should give thanks at some point in time throughout the year for all of the things that we're blessed with. Um, we've had some tragedies that go on here recently, tragedies that happen. And, you think about, hey, listen, these things could happen to me, my family. I'm not so far away from tragedy. And when they don't happen, I have to give thanks and just give thanks for the prosperity and the things that are going. These are hard times right now. So whether you do it on the third Thursday in November or whenever, I think it's important, and being the farmer in me, I can understand why it's at this time because Halloween is essentially a Thanksgiving celebration that a lot of people don't realize it's the end of it's a harvest celebration. It's the end of the harvest. All right. And then, you have the reaping that harvest in November. So you celebrate the bounty of your harvest. Okay. So if you can take time to celebrate all of the good things in your life, right, at some point in time, I think that's always a good thing.
Absolutely, folks. Absolutely. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. You heard it here first. The stock spotlight, sprinkled with some Thanksgiving knowledge. Folks, it's been Leonard Walker with the stock spotlight. We'll see you next week, family.
Peace, brother.
Peace. All right. Next up to the stage, folks, we have Lady Brazilianaire, who sent us an amazing recording that we're going to go ahead and watch. And this is her 5 minutes in financing with Lady Brazilianaire.
Good morning, everybody. It's Heather, also known as the Lady Brazilianaire, coming to you today with your 5-minute financial tip this morning. So my tip is business owners, use gift cards for your clients. How hard is it? Every POS or point of sale system I know of, we all use gift cards. You can either print them out or you can have them stored online. This is a way for you to up your retail sales, whether in person or online. So if you need to hit your goal for the day, for the week, or for the month, sell gift cards. We are in Thanksgiving, New Year's, birthdays, babies being born. There are still weddings going on. send out gift cards. And if you are a client, go dig out that gift card that you've been having sit in your drawer for the last 5 months. Trust me, it's still valid. Go use that gift card, redeem it, and also gain points. So, hey, why do we love gift cards so much? This is a way for you to save money as well as for the business owner to make money. So, I hope this helps out for today. Bye.
Absolutely, absolutely. Nothing but good stuff, folks.
That's good stuff right there.
I tell you what, folks. Next up, we're gonna do some commercials, but we have Sister Angela Jackson Brown coming and giving us an update about this amazing event that's coming up here this week, as a matter of fact, right here in Louisville, Kentucky. All right, so we'll talk about that and more here soon, but we'll be right back as we jump into commercial right here on the Tipping Point Morning Show, folks. Don't go nowhere. Peace.
Hey, folks, check out healthdaddywow.net. 100% plant-based herbs and supplements. Whether you're in person or online, use the word tipping for 10% off. Remember, feel better, look great, healthdaddywow.net. Remember, healthdaddywow.net.
Habibi Trading Company, home of soap, sticks, and Saya Baba products. Over 400 locations at a store near you. Cincinnati, Ohio, Louisville and Lexington, Kentucky, Southern Indiana, or find yours online at sayababa.com. Again, that's sayababa.com. Habibi Trading Company, where you can find fragrances to incite your senses.
You are listening to The Tipping Point Show with your host, Mr. Just Ask Joe, John Yeah. You ready? Streaming live all over social media and on your favorite music and podcast streaming platforms.
Yeah, you know what it is.
Also, check out thetippingpointshow.com. The Tipping Point Show.
I don't even know what's going on. Oh my god. Are you guys kidding me?
All right. Man, I tell you what, I don't know what's going on my side, but it's all good. We're going to keep this show rocking. I got some type of camera issue going on, but it is all good. Folks, we have our sister who's always in the city bringing events to us, always involved, always engaged. It's Sister Angela Jackson Brown from Give, stepping up to give us more information about this pop-up event coming up this Thanksgiving week. How you doing there, sis? Hey, Angela, can you hear us?
She says she don't hear a sound.
All right. Only thing I can suggest is to go out and come back in. Is the only thing I can suggest. Let's see here.
It's probably on her end.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. We hear you now.
Now. Perfect.
Can you hear
I'm not really hearing you at all. I don't know what happened to my sound on this end. But as long as you hear me, I am happy to be here.
Okay.
And I'm so delighted to tell you this is countdown big time. This is countdown to our GIVE, Global Interventions, Ventures in Education, Holiday Blitz, coming at you in the next 5 days in the Ville. We are here to bring in the holiday, Black Holiday Friday is upon us, where we're able to not only come together celebrating our rich culture, but also empowering our community with all types of workshops, information, and resources. How to live a healthy lifestyle choice includes a holistic point of view, a point of view about connecting us like the thread, the fiber that weaves us together, uniting us and bringing us all that we need in order to not just sustain, but thrive, not just survive, but vibe on a higher level, a higher frequency level with high vibrating foods, where I will be demonstrating our power superfood smoothies, where tropical fruits from the rain gardens, the Amazon gardens, jungles of the world, to the grocery stores, your local grocery stores, whether that's Kroger's, Whole Food, Aldi's, Publix, which is on the way here. My family's from South Florida. Publix is big. So they will also.
Right, all right, all right, all right.
Yeah, I think we
Sis
lost her there.
Angela Brown. There you go. You came back in. There you go.
Yes, I see we were having a little highlights. I guess they're letting us know that they hear us very well. So they just came to say hi, hello and give us a Black Friday blackout heads up. All right, that's what that was. And I'm loving it. Thank you. Thank you, Divine Order. So, yes, we're all about the divine order, the flow of a people, a nation, giving life, giving sustenance, where we will be connecting with these healthy, plant-based, nutritious superfoods called our tropical smoothies at our Queen Diva Tea Party. Again, featuring organic teas and various finger foods that will delight every sense as we sip tea and smoothies and watch a fashion show presented by yours truly, Shango Ranke International Designs. And while that's going on, the kiddos could be down at the Play Center. As you see on our promo material, we have fun for the whole family. This is a family affair. I used to love that song, the OJs, you know, and all the different songs that we used to sing about the family, love, self-care. That's what this is all about. Getting all that you need to create a holistic centered lifestyle. Focus on your health is your wealth, including our financial workshops, yes, and entrepreneurship workshops. Rent to own, understanding the nature of the rich, diverse culture of what it has to bring you. People are always talking about locking. Locking is truly a state of mind, because whatever you believe is what you manifest into your reality. So we're here to give you a reality check on how to connect with the rich abundance of the divine creator, whatever you call that force, if you are a believer, which I'm sure if you have, you are a believer, because closed mouths don't get fed. So it's about putting out those sound frequencies to be able to actualize into your life whatever you need. So if you come to our GIVE Global Interventions, it's all about intervening into your life and giving you the fluid that you need, the sustenance that you need for your mind, body, and spirit, including our arts and crafts that teaches our children at a very young age, because it really does start at home. You are a product of your environment. No, you don't have to be beholden to it. And that's why we're doing the various workshops that will focus on mental health, including reprogramming, deprogramming your mind, your body, and spirit is aligned with the truth. Let me to it through the programming, intentional programming that you are in control of. Yes.
Let me ask you, Angela.
And I will clarify. I give much thanks to the divine creator for giving me the ability to have choice.
Angela, can you hear me?
Well.
Angela, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Real quick, who do you have speaking? And who do you have speaking on the health? I guess
we have a panel
okay.
that is going to be addressing our various topics dealing with mental health, including Kushia Brown. She is going to be doing assessments on site. We also have counselors, including in mental health and wellness, Omi Sade, who is also an educator in the educational field, counselor. We also have Robin Carrington, who is also a clinical therapist that will be able to bring you all the various information from suicide to domestic violence that's on the rise in our community. I never realized that, actually, to be honest with you, John. I did not realize how severe this problem is, because I have people that are close to me that are friends that have family members that have recently taken their lives. Mm-hmm. It was so oppressive. They no longer felt that this life was worth living.
Right.
So we want to give you those coping skills also to be able to heal if you have a family or a friend that has gone through that final commitment of disconnecting from this plane, but also teaching us coping skills, how to go within and deconnect, de-stress, as well as learning how to give love, information, as well as compassion to another when you don't even know what they're going through, with just a smile, just a word, just a hug.
Yeah. Give us the information again, the dates, where it's going to be held at, and just plug that in real quick before we let you go.
Yes. So this will be happening at Creative Events Venue, 2722 Critton Drive, Louisville, Kentucky. That is off of exit 132, which is the Critton Drive exit going to the fairgrounds, the airport, directly across from the Hilton Hotel and Cracker Barrel. We will be opening our doors at noon. We will have a plethora of vendors that will greet you, along with a wonderful selection of workshops and international products and services from around the world, including local. We have Glamour Therapy will be in the house. Margaret Tara will be in the house with her African creations. Dr. Lacrease Kidd will be giving at the Queen Diva Party self-love, starting with your external. That will be able to have attentive attention to what's going on, the largest organ of your body that leads into your internal well-being. We will also have Omi Sade and our other Queen Diva, who will be hosting Vanessa Sigamont, that would be hosting the Queen Diva Tea Party. We will also have the fashion show by Shango Ronke, International Designs, again, connecting, weaving the thread that brings about the divine beauty that we all possess. So it's all about information and resources to empower our people. The lack of knowledge is why we perish.
Gotcha. So we got
to give you life.
Gotcha.
So
we got
12 to 9.
Got you next week coming back on to remind everyone again. We
Friday
see you again.
and Saturday.
Yes.
Non-stop.
All right.
Explosion of culture and art.
All right, folks.
Economic empowerment. And your
Awesome.
health is truly your wealth.
It's not
Thank
really.
you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. We appreciate you, sis. And I cannot wait. I can't wait because I think she's gonna let me come up there and play around on the Vitamix machine with her. And that'll be fun. Because if I get to do that, I'm gonna tell y'all, there are 30 different nutrients found in the seed of a strawberry. Most of y'all that try to make a smoothie with a regular blender, guess what? They're floating in the bottom of the blender, in the bottom of your cup. A person with diverticulitis cannot consume that. But guess what? That Vitamix machine, made in America, baby. It has enough power and speed to crack that seed. Blend it all up. You get to drink all those nutrients. So that's going to be my favorite part of the whole show next week. And I can't wait. Can't wait. Brothers, we got a special show today. And we have a special time of the year that we're talking about. And the big question here is, I tell you what. Should Black people, or why do Black people still celebrate Thanksgiving? All right. That's an interesting thing, and it's something that has gone on as a questionable debate for many years, right? I think we've talked about it. I was reading some today, and I went ahead and added that informational as I made the post for today. But collectively, Black Americans are well aware of the history of Thanksgiving, the murder, land theft, and genocide of the aboriginal people of this land is something that is scoffed at during the annual celebration of Thanksgiving. By the late 1700s, nearly the entire Wampanoag population had been killed off by pilgrims or shipped to the West Indies as slave laborers. That's from medium.com. With that in mind, fellas, when we talk about celebrating Thanksgiving, I've heard people do different things. They talk about how they flip it and they say, you know what, we make this a family. We don't call it Thanksgiving. We don't celebrate the pilgrims and you know the Indians. We pay homage to the ancestral lineage of the Indians, but we don't celebrate the pilgrims and what they did and all of that. As Black people, does it matter? Why does it matter? Who wants to jump in there?
Well, I wanted to turn it over to Brother John, y'all. But before we get that popping off, if you guys are joining us, please hit like and hit that heart button 1,000,000 times so we can get those algos popping to get this information out to the people. We want to connect with you guys. We want to have a discussion with you guys. So we do it amongst each other, but you guys are all involved as well. So just, you know, communicate with us through the chat. Joe, he'll put it up on the board. We'll be able to address your questions and things like that. So definitely cooperate with us. That's what helped the algorithms get our videos popping, to make this message get out there, to get the Tipping Point Morning Show popping. So just do us a favor, hit that like button 1,000,000 times and invite a couple of your friends. Just drop their name in the chat so they can actually get it as well. Okay. So I definitely want to appreciate that. But you know, with that being said, I'll turn it over to Brother John. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he got some valuable information there.
You know, I'm gonna tell you now. I've written all sides of the fence here on the Thanksgiving thing, and one thing is that you're dealing with some facts. When you look at facts, it can affect your emotions and how you look at things. I would say we're living in a country that is bombarded with information. Always information. You have to be careful of the information. You have to be careful of your children listening to the information, because why? It's a programming going on. It's a very well designed programming. You got to understand that everything is man-made. How he's written into this, how we function, or this system that we're dealing with, right? And there's two ways of looking at this, and I have lived both sides of it. I understand the horrible things that happened during this particular day that's claimed to be this day called Thanksgiving. The trick And I would tell you, if you talk to a Native American, he would tell you they do not celebrate it. They do not participate in something that was destroying their ancestors and killing their people and taking their land. You can't get them because they are too woke and too aware of it. Somehow, though, even with us, we easily forget our history, and we'll easily go right into whatever's going on, whether we're talking about Christmas, whether we're talking about 4th of July, how we'll easily celebrate 4th of July, but wouldn't really celebrate Juneteenth, the day we was really free, right? So there's a psychological thing going on here with us as a people. And I would have to say this is that what I personally do is a practice. Like, for instance, let's say, for instance, Christmas. We know there's no such thing as a white man coming down a chimney and doing any such thing. Those of us who are aware of that it's a business tactic that's going on during this particular time of the holidays to do what? Psychologically, to get people to spend money. Because here's the thing: there's a flow of currency going on through every holiday. There's a flow of currency. You got those on one side collecting currency, and you got those on the other side psychologically spending money because they believe something will, whatever the case may be in this celebration. So when we're talking about Thanksgiving, yes, we can forget about the horror thing and just go ahead on and eat hearty and forget all about it. And we'll go right back to sleep where we came from, right back to sleep. And you can look at this day and understand that with all the bombardment going on with the media, and use it as a time to come together with family, to use it as a time to come together and begin to ponder on what are you thankful for, as though you got to wait till November the 24th to think about what you're thankful for. You should be doing it every day you wake up to look at what you're thankful for. It's somehow we take one day of the year and we make that one day of being thankful to kill all the other days. It's like going to church on Sundays and you just think you're going to worship God or thank him on Sunday, but you got 6 other days to just elf off, right? And it seems like very hypocrisy, where you should be focusing on this thought of giving thanks every day of your life. You should always be willing to give. You should always be willing to have thanks, being able to give and or receive a gift from someone, right? So I do understand both levels, but most important on this level of business, I take this, and here's why. I'm going to say it like this. There are 5 levels of consciousness in everyone's dimension, and we're living in this lifestyle. There's 5 levels, right? The first 2 is called theta wave. Theta wave is when you were born into this lifestyle. You know nothing when you was born. Everything you were told is a form of hypnosis, right? The first 2 stages, 1 and 2, is theta wave, being taught and being told from the time you was birthed to where you are now. The third one is belief. You believe actually in what you were told. That's the 3rd level of consciousness. You believe everything you was told. The 4th one is when you look and say, damn, all that mess was a lie. That's the 4th level of consciousness. The 5th level of consciousness is when you realize all this crap is just an illusion. Learn to play the game. Learn to extract whatever you want to extract from it. Well, that's why I'm at this point. I remember I had a store in Jefferson Mall, and I was next door to a Jewish guy who had a cell phone company, a cell phone store. And I was talking to him, and during Christmas, he was putting up all the lights. And I said, hey, man, I didn't think you celebrate Christmas. He said, oh, my friend, no. He said, listen, Jewish people come together and they drink wine and eat cheese and celebrate and sing, oh, what a friend we have in Jesus. Because why? Now the flow is coming. The flow always come at this time of the year where there's a flow of money. So now I understand that because for the 20 years I've been in business, I've always prepared for that flow. Like I was just telling Pierre earlier, that I stock up in inventory and products so I can get in the flow. So it's all in how you look at it mentally. Don't get caught up in it to where your emotion is caught up. Just do the family thing. Enjoy your family. Enjoy eating, but don't overeat to where now you kind of ate a bunch of crappy food. But enjoy your life during this time, but also enjoy your life after this time is over.
All right. So, yeah, good thing right there, man. Like we was discussing earlier about, the holidays themselves were created to create that flow in the market, in the system. And because normally there's a lot of economic activity in the beginning of the year, in the summertime especially. But as you get into the winter time, things get cold, and there was a lot of struggling businesses. So, those, in government created the holiday seasons to, extract to get, monies over from consumers into the hands of producers, the capitalists, so they can continue to keep this thing going. So that's pretty much like, why they created it. But to speak on to what Joe was talking about earlier, the question why Black people still celebrating Thanksgiving, and then he mentioned some things about murder and raping and all this, negative things that he associated with Thanksgiving. Now, from my understanding, and I had to teach this, because I homeschool, and my daughter goes to a Virginia homeschool curriculum, and so they teach about the Thanksgiving. From my understanding, and you correct me if I'm wrong, if you have superior knowledge than I have, then let me know, right? But from my understanding, the reason why Thanksgiving is celebrated was because of the Pilgrims who survived. There was a lot of them that got wiped out because they didn't know how to grow food and things like that. And it was a harsh winter. They died. And the next season, basically, was Squanto, the Indian, the Native American. Squanto actually came back from his slavery from overseas in Europe, and discovered his family was dead. They died from disease, probably came from the Pilgrims, right, or the Europeans. But he actually found the Europeans, the Pilgrims, and he taught them how to grow, food, right? So he taught them how to grow food and things like that. And basically, they survived and they had a harvest, and they came together with the Native Americans, the Wampanoag tribe, and they actually had a feast, the Thanksgiving feast, and to celebrate and to be thankful for the harvest and things of that nature. So that's from my understanding where the Thanksgiving come from. Have you heard anything different, or like, is there anything else that other people need to know about? Because that's my understanding of the Thanksgiving holiday, of where it started.
so hey, everybody sat down, and these foreigners came to them, and they all sat down, and they had this joyous meal. I remember that on the reading about that in school, and all this other stuff surrounding that whole thing. So yeah, I mean, there's history, there's what they want us to believe, and then there's, as John stated earlier, there's facts, right? So as you research and you read, there's a lot of facts out there that support the idea that sure, things may have started like that, but somebody at that table said they not too bright. We got guns, they got bows and arrows. Let's go ahead and let's take what they taught us. Let's take what they got, show us, and let's, what's funny in Florida, there is a lot of Indian like names for different things, right? And so coming from South Florida, I remember going to this park, and I took some pictures. I wish I had brought it up for this, but I took a picture of one of the signs. They have the little signs that you can read along trails and stuff like that, right? And it was all about how the Indians just up and left all their tools and everything there, right? And they just up and left this area, and then European settlers found it later, empty with all their tools and stuff there. And I'm just sitting there and I'm scratching my head, and I'm like, yeah, right. Come on, bro. They, who just up and leaves their tools, right? And so then when you go and do some more research, it's like, no, they didn't just up and leave their tools. There was a scuffle, and they got booted out their camp in their area. European settlers came and took that particular land there. This was, I'm just talking specifically to a park in Florida. But the narrative is always, hey, everything was peaceful, happy-go-lucky, but then you go research and you find out otherwise. So the question becomes, I think the reason why people say, should Black people celebrate Thanksgiving is because it's a close relation to something that happened indigenously between the Europeans and Africans. When we start talking the Mid-Atlantic trade slave and all that good stuff. So again, the question becomes, should we not celebrate it? Should we call it something different? Should we continue to bring the negative part to light? and move in that direction. Kari Muhammad says, I've heard the turkey was used as a weapon as it has a natural sedative that makes one sleepy. which we know how lethargic you can get.
Powerful weapon right there, man.
Eating turkey. It is.
That turkey, you get the itis, you can't do nothing no more, man.
And maybe that's what happened. You know, the Indians, they weren't eating turkey. And
yeah, but it's very interesting about that turkey. The turkey has an enzyme that is helpful for the brain. Of course, it makes you maybe a little bit more sleepy, but not a pass out type of sleep. A lot of times when you eat food that is dead, you get sleepy. That's why sometimes you get kind of sleepy when you eat dead food. When you eat live food, you don't get sleepy. But in a sense, a turkey does have something that is powerful for the brain itself. Now, what's interesting when we're talking about this, let's look at this from another standpoint. The Europeans never took nothing. They only persuade. Okay, so there's a way they did that, right? Even if you look at Africa, they didn't take Africa. They didn't take anybody. There was a persuasion going on where they believe that a certain people, you give them this and they'll give you that. They gave us the Bible and told us to kneel and pray, and they took the land. It's the same way what they did over here. And what's very interesting is two pieces here that says Christopher Columbus discovered America, and then when you start reading and studying about the Thanksgiving thing, you realize he didn't discover nothing. There were people already here. There was native people already here, and these people were as dark as we are, right? And so what the Europeans did was a friendly thing, and this is what Dr. John Clark mentioned in his theses or in his writings of the history, is that the Europeans not that smart. The problem is that we were too nice. We will open doors and let them in. This is how they were able to do this, right? Same with the Native Americans. And then they brought them what? Smallpox in a blanket by giving them a gift. That gift was going to end up killing them later, right? Because we're too nice. And we're nice. We would accept people on our land and give them
the happened in Wakanda.
While at the same time they have other agendas, and we don't see the agenda because we don't see how barbaric they really are. And if you study anything about history, you will see that the way they do war wasn't how we did war, right? The way they do war is barbaric. They kill women, everybody. They slaughter everyone, split them apart, and do everything. They're the most barbaric people when they came over here, but they were trickery, right? They couldn't beat the people physically, so they would beat the people by acting as their friend. This is how they do it, right? So we just got to understand that piece. Now,
but you basically proving that they were smarter.
No. It's that we were too nice. There's a difference in being nice and people who have it behind their head. It doesn't mean you're smart.
They outsmarted us.
It doesn't. Well, you can say outsmarted, but what you can say is that it's hard to beat the people that has death in their head, and the only way you can beat them is have the same mentality, which is death. Because the only thing that can beat a barbaric person is with a barbaric act, right? And so we were naturally living with nature and everything, and it's perfectly fine with how we live. But we're talking about the people that don't live with nature. We're talking about the people that will create GMO, pollute the air, pollute the water. They will create things that are unnatural, right? So you're just talking about two different kinds. Doesn't mean just like we're dealing with Monsanto, who a lot of farmers don't want to talk about, how Monsanto did what they did to create and gather all the seeds. Farmers thought they were their friends, and then later found out Monsanto was creating something to destroy their farmland if they didn't buy their seeds. You see how it is? They may think you're doing something nice for you, but underhandedly, they're doing something else.
Well, the thing is like the narrative of being too nice, okay, means that you need to be mean, okay? And I find that problematic in the world of social cooperation, because even in the tribalistic, periods, tribes had to socially cooperate with each other, right? So it wasn't every time a new tribe came into your territory, y'all automatically went to war and it was battle. It was, hey, how can we mutually benefit from each other? Because on my land, I have emeralds, and your land, you have gold. I don't have gold, but I have emeralds. We can actually make a mutual exchange. So mutual exchange is social cooperation. It's not about being mean or anything like that. It's just like, how can we mutually benefit each other? And so I think you were on point when you were talking about like when they came yes, they came with some type of mutual benefits that intrigued the Native Americans somehow, right? They had guns, they had the bow and arrows. In fact, from my understanding of the Thanksgiving stories, instead of like today, people watch sports on Thanksgiving. Their sports was actually shooting. They would shoot guns and bow and arrows together, like when they had the feast. So that was my understanding how they actually was peacefully and socially cooperating. Now, to give you another modern day situation, China, for instance, right? China allows foreigners in their borders, and they're nice. They're not mean, but they're smart enough to know that, hey, you Americans want to do business in China. Our companies must oversee everything that you do. We need insight on Apple. We need all this stuff. And then they take, because they know the insides of Apple, how they make the iPhones, and then they give the technology to Huawei, who actually makes a phone better than Apple and sell it for cheaper, right? And so the Chinese are smart. And I'm not saying that we're not smart, but we were outsmarted. What do you think about that, John?
Well, and look, I want to say what John said about persuasion. Kari Muhammad kind of brought that up when he talks about the blankets, and you guys know the story of the blankets, the gifting blankets, and that persuasion. Here's something nice for you. Take these gifting blankets. They're riddled with smallpox.
But that's not what happened, right? But that's not what happened. Right? John was on point though about them being able to socially cooperate with each other and being persuasive. But it's not just persuasion; it's a mutual exchange, right? So when they came with the transatlantic slave trade, right, where the African tribe, the African leaders sold their slaves into slavery, it was a mutually beneficial situation. It was because the Africans didn't have guns, right? You see some Europeans, they got some guns, and you see what it can do. You don't have that. And you're thinking about, man, I'm going to war with these tribes over here. Same way we see Bloods and Crips beefing today, right? They want to have the Dracos and choppers, the biggest guns, and blah, the same thing. The Europeans got the guns. They want guns. The Europeans wanted the people. The people was a commodity because the Europeans, again, was trying to get that sugar. They sell it back to the Europeans because who didn't have it. They needed human labor. That was the start of it, right? And the Arabs and the Spaniards taught the Europeans. You know what I'm saying? They were already doing these things already because, again, the African leaders were already in trade with the Arabs. Come on, think about it. Think about, like, we think too modern. You have to go back, right? We got cars to get around. Think about just traveling, right? Back in those days, you didn't have a car. And the Spaniards, they had horses. Right. So, they think the Africans like, yo, we got a lot of slaves, man. How many I got to give you? I give you 10 slaves for a horse. Yeah, take them. You know what I'm saying? That's what you think. That's what the Africans are thinking. So it was a mutual benefit where the Europeans got the slaves that they wanted, the people, and then the Africans received some type of good that they didn't have. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just persuasion, it's a mutual exchange. And so the same thing with the Native Americans, when the Europeans came, when you see, again, Europeans got these guns, you know what I'm saying? That's one of the main things is the guns or whatever other technologies they have. And indigenous people see that and they're like intrigued by it, right? And so, I mean, you see Native Americans, they went to war with guns also. How did they get the guns? They were already doing trade with the Europeans, you know what I'm saying? So, but that's how it happened. And I think it just so happened to be one of those things, just, again, how the Europeans were living when they had diseases. I don't think they're just like, oh, we're going to just take a smallpox out of my body and put it in you. I think they had it and their ignorance to health and things like that. I don't think they actually quite knew, because when they first tried to do the people in South America, they died off. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like wherever they went, people died off from these diseases. Or however, the uncleanness, how the Europeans are living, I think is a part of the problem with happened with that. But I don't think it was actually like purposefully like, let's spread our diseases to them.
Really?
Okay, so I'm gonna read this. Let me read this real quick. Let me read. This is history.net. All right. History.net.com. All right. This is their take on it. The epidemic of 1837 to 38 also spawned a narrative of deliberate white genocide against the original Americans. Smallpox in the blankets. White Europeans and white Americans deliberately promoting the spread of smallpox among unsuspecting American Indians to clear them off the land.
The Thanksgiving was occurred in the 1500s. You're talking about the 1800s. That's later. The Thanksgiving tradition was already started. Again, there was, I think, 1600s. Excuse me. In the 1600s is the settlement of the Pilgrims and stuff like that. We already had Thanksgiving as a national holiday. From George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and all these other guys, right? The presidents who made it. But it was already celebrating before the 1800s.
And that's my bad. That was my misread right there. But yeah, you're right.
No, I mean, it was a misread. I mean,
it does.
Say it was good,
No, it
but
does say
kinda
that
later.
that exact date, the 1600s. So yeah, you're right. Go ahead, John.
So the question becomes, and I think let me back up a little minute. Are you saying, Pierre, that it was just an accident somehow that smallpox got in the blanket? You're not. Are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that it wasn't an intent bio warfare? You saying it wasn't intent to get? Listen, this is where we get our.
Smallpox in the blanket situation occurred in the 1800s that you're talking about?
No, I don't care when it happened. What I'm saying is that they gave smallpox to the people by offering them blankets. I don't care what date. The thing about it is what narrative do we grab? And there's a lot of narratives out there, then you can grab whatever narrative. But let me put this facts out there real quick. Now ride with me for a second.
Okay.
There were two ages of what is called the Dark Ages after the Europeans had taken over, starting with the Romans. We went into a dark age at some period where we have to remember who taught them how to wash when they came out the cave, who taught them how to be civilized when they came out the caves. We went back into another dark age where now the Moors, you can read about the stories of the Moors, not only enslaving Europeans, but taught them how to wash, taught them how to clean, and in fact taught them how to navigate ships. When we look at slavery, an Atlantic slave trade, you will see the Moors' hands all through that, like you talked about what was going on with other Africans enslaving other Africans. The Moors took a big part of that. And they weren't called Moors until the Europeans called them that. They had another name then, but when they had this, because the Moors was colonized by the Arabs, that's why the Moors were Muslims, but they were very much connected to the ancient history of Africa, number one. And so when they befriended these Europeans and taught them how to dress, taught them how to stop having sex with their mamas and daughters, and taught them how to navigate ship, they played a great role in the Europeans' upcoming. Right? You can read this history where you see the Moors having what is called sovereignty rights while slavery was going on right here in this country, meaning you had certain black people, certain African people that were already here. For one, they were already Native Americans. You had some that came on the slave trip, and then you have those who were Moors that was playing a role with the slavery, meaning they were walking around with their turbans with the slaves and walking right past them while the slaves were being whipped and sold, right? That played a role with what was going on then. Now, what the Europeans did was very interesting. Even though they had befriended, the Moors had befriended them and they were here in this country, I believe in 1718, the Negro Act was passed. I don't know, there's a date. When that happened, the Negro Act was passed. Not only did the Europeans had the people enslaved who were dark-skinned, they enslaved the Moors too. The Moors became captured inside of that Negro Act, right? And so imagine now a Moor walking around with a turban and you was enslaved and you know good and well he's the one that got you there. Imagine when he's with you now on the plantation. Aren't you kind of mad at the one that got you? Ain't you saying like, I told you, why did you help him? In fact, in a prison system, if they found out that you the rat and you the one that caused him to be in there, they'll kill you. So can you imagine the Moors walking around slaves and not even acting like they're Moors anymore because they know they participated in assisting these Europeans to enslave these Africans? So no, I don't accept the narrative. We just have to look at some facts, and then what narrative you come from that by looking at those facts. The European was very tricky. And I don't think that he was given a gift for love. No, he was given a gift of bioweapon, because he always had another plan behind his head. Yes, he came over on the ship and the Moors taught him, but in the back of his head, he said, we're going to enslave these Moors too and take away all their rights as sovereign citizens, which is what you are seeing Moors trying to argue now today, is that they're sovereign citizens because they apparently believe they have the right to walk around as a free citizen.
So you believe that they weaponized the health pandemic things that they had going on, they weaponized it, and then they shot it into blankets or did whatever they do to impact the Native Americans to kill them.
Absolutely. They do the same thing with what we're talking about with vaccines today. It's a bioweapon to slow your birth rate down, to slow down your ability to live long. Of course they're doing that. They want you sick and ill. We can look at the system today of how the medical system works. You know, the medical system, the European medical system today, Western medicine, do not accept holistic medicine. They don't accept anything dealing with herbs and eating right. They don't understand the lymphatic system and how it's connected to the immune system and how to eat better. No,
That's
they're
why I find
really
it
about.
problematic that they were as smart. I mean, what you're saying is that they were smart enough
I don't
to
want to use
get
that
this.
word smart
I mean, they
unless
had to be smart enough to weaponize some
no.
bio,
If you're using that word smart, what you're trying to say is that in the bio weapon, you have one people being peaceful. That's the smartest people you can be, as a peaceful person. What I'm trying to say is that they were unaware of how devious these people can be. We are right now in today's time, still not understanding how devious they can be. Aren't we just talking about contracts, how people sign contracts that they were beat out of, how people lose their own name, Prince, right? Lose their own right to their own name because why there was somebody they dealt with that was already trying to undermine their whole success. Right now, still today, we still got the same behavior that we are still accepting them. We are still allowing them into our meetings. Look at Black Lives Matter, how it really started as really something that was for black people until somebody white creeped in and gave them some money. Then it all changed. Every time we let them in our meetings, somehow something happens to us that we get the shorter end of the stick. This ain't new. This is something that's been going on. What happens is that we go to sleep easy. We go to sleep and forget what they just did to us, and that's the problem.
So I mean,
Too
I
much
think
turkey. Too much turkey.
yeah. Look, I'm gonna give some pushback on it, and I'm gonna leave with this is because I just find it fascinating to come to that conclusion when you had Europeans who didn't even know how to grow food. Squanto, the Native Americans, they had to teach them how to grow the food because they died off. Like half of their population died off that actually came. Okay, and they had to be taught how to grow food and things like that. I'm pretty sure they didn't know how to have, medicines or whatever. They had to go back to Europe to get whatever medicines they knew about. But I don't think that they were advanced enough to understand, their hygiene, especially if you say that we taught them. And I remember even Dr. Laila Africa was talking about like the developments of our current medical system was, I think it was like in the 1800s or something. It was something late in civilization where they couldn't understand why, all these diseases were spreading is because of hygiene, right? And so again, you back to this hygiene thing. Now when you go to the hospitals, they clean stuff and they clean all the utensils and blankets and things of that nature. But that's like recent development. That's not, are you talking the 1600s? I don't think that they actually were smart enough to, to do what you're saying that they did, turn it into a biological warfare to kill the Native Americans. I think it was just by way of chance of it being in proximity to them. They carried the diseases themselves, and when they came into contact with these indigenous people, those diseases transfer because you're communicating with people, touching them and feeling and eating with them or whatever the case may be. I just think that it kind of spread that way. That's what that's my perspective on it. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the chat, man. If y'all logged in right now, hit that like button, hit that share button, join the discussion with us today because it's about to
Hey,
get spicy. I know Joe got something cooking up, man.
hey, no, I'm looking at it, Kari Muhammad, he commented a little bit ago. He said no, because Africans didn't have a system of chattel slavery. There was still an ulterior or alternative motive. And I think this is earlier when we were talking about the exchange with African tribes and Europeans of goods and services and whatnot, right? So, I agree with that because chattel slavery was not the type of slavery that even we had or Africans had among themselves, right? It wasn't. There was indentured servitude, but there was not this type of chattel slavery. I mean, my family's from Jamaica. My dad tells me about someone that lived in their home that helped to take care of the kids, and in exchange, she had a room in the home, right? So somewhat of an exchange. That was her. There was the service, an exchange of services, right there, right? So there wasn't this. I mean, chattel slavery. what happened in America, I mean, you're talking about guinea pigs and science experiments, and I mean, just to be looked at as less than human, that was not something that was normal in the original land there when you start talking about slavery. So
Now, but what does that have to do with the Thanksgiving though?
Well, I mean, as we were talking about it, and the exchange of goods and services. Again, you're talking
Are you
about
saying
a
that
particular
Thanksgiving
type
came
of
by way of slavery?
well, no,
Is
I'm
that the
saying
reason
that a
why we
particular
celebrate it?
type of people. I'm saying a particular type of people has a habit of showcasing themselves as very nice, and they will look at your culture and they will kind of adapt to it just enough to come and exchange goods and services with you, have you thinking that they're cool, just like the blankets. Because remember, the blankets represent something in Indian culture. They use the blankets for birth. They gift blankets for birth. They gift blankets for death. They gift blankets as bartering for goods and services. So, in my thoughts, yeah, the Indians brought them some blankets, and then the Europeans said, "Oh, okay, that's what they like." And so then they went and took these blankets and rubbed them all over themselves and folded them up and gave them back to the Indians and said, "We got some blankets for y'all too." Indians didn't understand what that medieval laugh meant, though. At the end of every statement after that, they didn't know what that meant. They're like, "Man, these people they have a weird sound every time they talk." But with that being said, I'm just looking at this. You're talking about a people who all over the world showcase themselves to be they're harmful. It's like a cancer all over the world, right? And everywhere that they've touched, everywhere that they've touched down, everywhere that they've put a footprint, there's been destruction. So
in the same way that they're harmful, aren't they also helpful?
Absolutely. There you go. I mean,
I'm just asking.
go ahead, John. I mean, how does that work in and of itself? The harm versus the help versus the harm. I mean, in a sense, it's almost mentally challenging to deal with the back and forth.
I mean, just think about the technology that we're using right now. Who came up with that? They did, So, I mean, we still use the technology, the systems. We find benefit in those things as well. So as much as we highlight the negatives, from the Europeans, there's also probably more positives, I would say, just, looking at an advanced civilization that we live in now, not to erase the crimes and sins committed in the past. But I just think that, it's one of those things where it's just a way of how things came, accumulation of all the events from the past that led us to where we are now. My pastor, he said that he said something that was interesting to me. When I think about it the same way. He said, "I wouldn't choose it, but I wouldn't change it." And I just thought that was interesting because I wouldn't choose slavery. I wouldn't choose none of that stuff. But you know what? All of that stuff led us to where we are today. You know what I mean? I heard Denzel Washington say, when you pray for the rain, you got to deal with the mud. Right. And he was saying, like, you got to be thankful for it all. Right. Because that mud, comes with the rain that you asked for. Rain down, but you got to clean up the mud. Right. All of this stuff actually, it all led us to where we are today. And I think that we're at a great place where we are today. Everything's not perfect, but we're in the best place that you can be in the world, in America. I mean, really, there's no better place to be, a place that you can actually pursue your pursuit of happiness, life, love, liberty, all those things. So the accumulation of all the events that occurred in the past, I don't know if there would have been a better situation if the Europeans didn't go on the conquest that they went on, or whatever the case may be. I don't know. I just know that all of that led us to where we are now, where we, as blacks in America, or African American, whatever you want to call it, we have a great privilege. We got the dollar privilege, we have the freedom privilege, we have lots of privileges that other people don't have that we should definitely be taking advantage of. So that's where I'm at with that. I think
are those things to be thankful for?
Yes, they are. I mean, if you think about it, and when I think about, somebody told me, well, forget about what they told me, but this is just an observation, right? And I think about my ancestors could not read. Bro, you see what's behind me? I got a library in my house. I got a couple actually around the house. I have so many books. They're very valuable to me. I love reading. You know, I wish I could just read all the time. My ancestors couldn't read. You know what I'm saying? And if they were to actually have a glimpse of our life now and see how we are able to do simple things like reading, and you know, it's not a problem. You know, I think that they would be, you know, I think that they would be pleased with that.
Interesting. Well, your ancestors couldn't read. My ancestors created the art of reading. So it depends on what ancestors and narrative you're talking about. My ancestors go back before the Europeans, who created the arts, who created the writings, who created math, who created science. Those are my ancestors, not the ones where the Europeans have taken some black people and brought them down and took away their reading and took away all their rights. So depending on what ancestors you're looking at, I'm looking at the ones that created it. Now, with what you're saying, this is a great system. I like it because I'm in it. However, I don't knock that there was a better system that may have been better if they would have been left alone. I believe that piece. I believe that the people who were here before them creating civilization, before they even knew how to create it. I think a lot of times I mention about the Sudanese and those who have built pyramids before the pyramids in Giza, where they're still standing. I think when I read books from Dr. Clark and other master teachers, and like I would say that if we knew then what we knew today, those African people or those people would have slaughtered every European that came out the cave and stepped their foot on the land of that continent. Guarantee you, if they knew today. Now, with that said, I believe this, Pierre, and I agree with you on this piece. And here's what's interesting, and I know you will agree with this. This is interesting. I believe this. Again, we're living in what is called the thought world. Everything you see around you came from someone's thought before it came into this reality. This is a fact. I don't care if it's this pen, I don't care if it's this phone, I don't care what it is, right? We use it because it came out of someone's mind. We didn't question whose mind it was. We didn't question whether there was a white man, black man, Chinese man, whatever. We look at this tool as making our life comfortable. Now, when I talk about the thought world of something that came out of someone's mind, I put it like this. If God didn't want it to exist, the universe wouldn't have put it in the minds of that person to bring it in this existence to share with humanity. You see, so I would agree on this point here about this country is that this country here, as it stands, is the biggest and the best country you can create your ideal in your head to bring it out into this existence without being oppressed or not because of your ideal. I think this country affords us the freedom of movement, freedom of what we're doing now, freedom to talk, freedom to express ourselves, freedom to travel, freedom to start a business, to get a business plan, to get a business tax ID. I think that because a lot of countries do not have those rules. Here you can go to prison and turn your life around, come right back out and still become a millionaire, still be able to get a business license, still be able to get a passport to travel out this country if you want to, right? And so this is why I don't accept the concept of slavery when we have all these affordabilities. Now, if we was in a country like Cuba, where you can't travel freely, you can't travel out the country freely, you can't make money on your own and not owe the government a big piece of that, right? So it's a big different ball game when we're talking about it. Now, what I do know about this is great, but what I also know is that there was something better before this here. And so now we're living under a whole different European rule, just like allopathic medicine, where back then there was no allopathic medicine. We were believing in and practicing in holistic medicine, dealing with the earth. Now we're in this allopathic.
What system are you saying was better than America's capitalism system?
The system that was before the Europeans came out. If you look at the 30 dynasties before the Europeans, the 19th dynasty is when the Europeans kind of came out the cave, or you starting to see the Greeks and the Romans. But the dynasties before the 19th dynasties, the first one all the way to the 18th. The first dynasty, I think, lasts over 600 years by a pharaoh named Mimon, right? I think that's pronouncing right. But he was the first right? And we look at how long that rule set in with that particular dynasty. Trade went on. Trade was the number one thing all over the continent of Africa. People were trading goods. So we're talking about trade. You're only looking at this system. Here's only a partial carbon copy of that system. That's why you see the eye on the dollar bill, right, above the pyramid, because it's a carbon copy of free trade, to be able to trade with anyone. They had this system. So you're only looking at a European system that carbon copied a part of a system that was here before them.
So you claim that that system is better than the American capitalist system today, and that system had slaves.
No, it did not. See, that's the difference.
Hold on. There were no slaves in Egypt?
Absolutely not. See, that's the difference in understanding narrative. What I would love to do, I want to reach out to Dr. James Smalls, or I want to reach out to one of these professors that are in historic that can come on this show to clear this up. They weren't considered slaves. They were considered servants. Let me tell you about the pharaohs. The pharaohs asked to be buried with their servants. Yes, because their servants had skills. They had respect for their servants who was building the pyramid. They weren't slaves. Slaves is a European word that is actually degrading to be a slave, opposed to being a servant of a king or a pharaoh. So we're looking at two different things. No, they didn't have slaves. They had servants.
Okay, so the servants that served the king, that system was better than you being free, not serving anybody in America today, is what you're saying. It was better to serve the king of Egypt than to be a free person in America today.
No, everybody wasn't server of the king. Everybody wasn't serving the pharaoh. There was only certain people that were serving the pharaoh, those who collected, whether they were in war, whether they were part of the war, or whether they were part of building the pyramids. They were all considered servants, but they weren't slaves. And everybody wasn't a servant. You had many of those who had wealth, who had trading wealth. I can go to a lot of people who were look at Massa Musa and what he was doing, gathering wealth, and what he was doing with his wealth, building up the Timbuktu, and what he had did over time, right, over his years of rule, right? So everybody wasn't a slave, or everybody wasn't a servant to the king or the pharaoh.
Massa Musa had slaves.
Master Musa has servants. That's the point I'm keep trying to tell you, is that you're using a word that is demeaning. They weren't called slaves. They were called servants, and there's a difference.
So servants, all right. So you're saying that a system of being a servant is better than being in a system where you're free.
Brother, there are servants right now today. Who do you think work for GE? Who you think build cars at Ford? They are servants. They're getting paid for it. A slave don't get paid. That's degrading. Anybody that has a job, you are service to who? Who you working for? Same system. What do you mean? Free. Free to do what? The only freedom you have is the freedom to gather all the wealth that you want so that you can travel and do what you want.
So let me ask you this. Could Mansa Musa, the Egypt pharaohs, or whoever the case may be, as their servants, could they sell their servants to other masters, other people?
You can trade people, of course. Companies do it. Ball teams do it. One team trades another player for another player. What are you talking about? Of course, it's servants. There's a difference.
No. See, when you leave your company, that's voluntary. Okay, when you choose a company, see, we choose the companies we work for. You understand? You choose to sign a contract, and that's mutual, and that's voluntary exchange. That is a much better system than serving any king. See, that's the problem, and that's why people don't understand the whole argument of slavery. Slavery, again, like you said, it did exist all up until America and Europe, right? So the American system is a system of freedom. All other systems before then was people serving kings. It didn't matter if you was in Africa, Egypt, China, or whatever the case may be. It was not a better system.
Wait a minute, if you're saying that, Pierre, then who was the alleged slaves? Who was the slave that came off the boat? They weren't slaves. They're right here in America. They were slaves right here in America. They couldn't walk away if they wanted to.
But yeah, in the beginning, yes, America started off on a bad foot.
Correct.
America transitioned and changed to the liberty system, the system of liberty, free to slaves. The first place that's free to slaves, Britain and America, the first places that free the slaves, right? And so you have to give credit to that, right? Yeah, it's not, you don't condone slavery in itself, but hey, at least we got set free. right? And so when we live in the freest place in the world, so this is by far the greatest place to be. I'd rather be here than to serve any king. I don't care if it was Mansa Musa with all his gold and all his glory. What did that do for me and my family or my tribe, who still end up getting sold off into slavery because he got the ability to sell you into slavery, right? So, there's no, to me, there's no condoning of slavery in any kind of form. It's got to be a system of social cooperation and voluntary exchange, and that's what we live in now, right? You can actually literally change your employment, right? You can go and move here. It wasn't like, oh, man, so I'm tired of serving you. I'm gonna go serve this other king. He will chop your damn head off. And that's what people skip over with this glorious ideas of these kings and queens or whatever that was so glorious. No, it wasn't. It was, the same thing in any other region. The people who were the elect, those were the ones who actually had the greatest quality of life. Everybody else was like, a serf, as we call them, serfdom. They was in poverty, and you serve the king, and his delegates. And so we still see these things in Africa today. The African continent itself, out of fear of colonialism, they associate colonialism with capitalism, so they reject capitalism and choose socialism. And it's the same system of serving the king or those who are in government. That's what I say, like my family's country in Liberia, the same thing. The presidents of the country, the leaders of the country, they borrow all this money from the IMF, the World Bank. They indebt their country, and they fill themselves up with riches, nice cars, big houses. I mean, they're getting big salaries. And meanwhile, there's no productivity. No, there's no commerce. There's nobody building anything. My grandfather, who owns lots of land in Liberia, he was upset because he was saying, like, it's terrible. People are just sitting around not working. They're just literally not working and begging for money from the American family who's making the money to send back to Liberia. And he was saying Liberia grows its own rice. Why do Liberians growing Chinese rice in Liberia? You see what I'm saying? So like all of this stuff, again, to me, I think we have to advance our mentality. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was saying earlier. They outsmarted us. And like, who do we blame for somebody outsmarting us? We get to sit and play a game of chess, and you beat me in a game of chess. You outplayed me, right? So I got to sharpen my skills. I got to get better so I can come out here and compete. We're still making the same mistakes of the past. And that's why I always be asking, like, all the physical glory and the vibrations, all this stuff. What does it matter? If we're still slave class, we got to advance our mentality, to me, to be able to compete with these people. Because, again, they don't have the science that you have, Brother Yah, but yet they still dominate. And it's like, why are we still in the slave class? They're beating us mentally. So we're fighting the battles that we fight wrong. And you're never going to win the battle if you are playing the wrong, you're bringing the wrong tools to this war. You know what I'm saying? This is a mental thing. They consistently outsmarted us, and they're consistently beating us mentally. So I think that we got to get smarter with this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm coming from, and then let me ask you this, since we're on the topic of Thanksgiving, right? And Black people should celebrate it, right? Didn't the Native Americans have African American slaves too? Weren't they awarded slaves?
There were even Moors that had. There were even Moors that had slaves here in America. There was Moors walking around with servants on their plantation also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there were free Black people, believe it or not, that had slaves.
But
as well.
again, I think it's always important to understand the difference, because that is a narrative and that gets spewed out plenty, especially on other sides of the railroad track. Remember, chattel slavery is totally different. Totally different when you talk.
Me and John, we're talking about here in America, right? We're talking about here in America, right? So like,
yeah, but even here in America, there was not chattel slavery until. You see what I'm saying?
It doesn't matter to me.
It's different. It does matter.
How people it doesn't matter.
It matters.
Listen, to me, it doesn't matter.
I think that's a hashtag somewhere. How people are treated matters.
No, this is what I'm saying. Slavery in itself is wrong. To me, I mean, it's just wrong. No one should be able to own somebody else. Now, if you voluntarily sell yourself into slavery, then that's something that you chose to do, But the fact that somebody can own you and own the production, the outcome of your production and stuff like that, that's, to me, is just wrong. Now, if you go sign a contract and say, hey, I'm going to work for you, but in exchange, you're going to give me money, I'm going to give you my time. Like that sounds
like indentured servitude.
No,
That sounds
that's
like
not.
indentured
That's not
servitude.
social. Yeah, okay. So you in indentured servitude. Could you say, "Hey, master, I'm no longer want to be your servant. I'm going to go holler at
No,
old boy down the
but there
street."
was a contractual agreement for a
What
set
contract?
time period,
You couldn't write or read.
and
So what contract?
come on, bro. I
There was
mean,
no contract.
you acting like people just
There was no
walked around
contract.
and hopped around like monkeys, bro. That wasn't the case.
But there was no
stop.
contract. You were a slave, is what I'm saying. You could not leave. You were a hostage. It's not like, hey, master,
Yeah,
blah
yeah,
blah blah. I'm
okay.
going down the street because master over there, he giving out cookies that y'all ain't giving out over here. Peace. See you later. That could not happen.
Right.
You were still in
Yeah.
bondage. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I'm not going to justify bondage itself. You know, I don't care how you name it or whatever the case may be. It's got to be a system of voluntary exchange, and that's the system we live in today. Therefore, this is the best system that anybody can be in.
I absolutely agree with
I
that.
agree with
Today, this is the best system, but I'm not going to deny the fact that there was a system here better than this one, because that's where they copied this one from, right? So I'm not going to deny this because I didn't live there. I've studied enough to realize that apparently there's a system that the Europeans, got it from, because we were the masters and we were the creators of all the math, the art, everything you see that's going on today, that they have advanced. So what system was before them is the question I'm talking about. But I agree with you. Right now, looking at the planet, this is the best system to live in. This is why people are trying to flock to this country for many reasons.
Yeah, but see, for me, like what's interesting, and I just learned this recently, that the Hebrew people actually had a system that was more free. They didn't have kings, right? When coming out of Egypt, which is a system that had pharaohs and kings, but the Hebrew people didn't have kings. They were a free people that actually chose slavery, right? And so it's in the Bible, and it talks about it, how the people, Samuel, in First Samuel, if you read the book of First Samuel, the people were free, but they were begging for a king. And Samuel, he pleaded with them to not have a king, because he said, you're going to be a serf to the king. Your children are going to belong to the king. All that you produce is going to belong to the king. You're going to get taxed crazy because of the king. He warned them, but they didn't care because they saw all the other nations had kings. But that was like the first, system to me that indicates like a libertarian type of society. It was ruled by judges, but it wasn't ruled by a king. But the people themselves chose a king because that's what they saw coming out of these other nations around them, and they wanted to be like all the other nations. So I just thought that was interesting.
It was, and it is.
Yeah.
But the Hebrew religion and faith don't go back to the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth dynasty. First of all, that craft came a lot later.
All those dynasties were ruled by kings, right? There were pharaohs, right? It was all ruled by a central leader.
That's a European word called pharaoh, correct? But it didn't mean that everybody. It's just like the president today. You don't work for the president, right? But there are certain people work for the president to keep this country in a certain run. That's where you look at it. You don't look at it as they were slaves and everybody was in the country was a slave. No, that's just kind of making a blanket statement. That's just not.
It's not a blanket statement, because we have a president, we have a Congress, we have a Senate, we have a House of Representatives, and all these people are electors of the people, meaning the people chose them. So are you saying that the pharaohs are chosen by the people?
No. What I'm trying to say is that no, they weren't chosen by the people. There was a lineage. But what I'm trying to tell you is that everybody wasn't a servant to the ones that was in rule. You had independent business people that was there functioning independently, not in the system. That is, they had to follow the system rules just like you have to in America, but they not really working for the pharaoh or the leader at that particular time. I'm saying is that there were free trade. There's always been an open door to free trade, to commerce with other people in the continent. This is why they created ships to cross continents, to go to another continent for cargo and trade for goods and stuff like that. They created that. It was all over at that point. We even talked about it on this show where people from West Africa was traveling to Egypt or Kemet and to gain knowledge, to get education, and then go back home and to teach that to their people. So we had free
to America to get education. So America is like a modern day Egypt, right?
I just said that. I just said they carbon copied something in the past. That's what I just said. Of course. So you have the same thing where you got trade and you can move about. Absolutely. So it's nothing.
The system is not the same, though.
I didn't say it was the same. I said carbon copy. Doesn't mean it's going to end up being the same, but they copied how that system looked. And this is why you have the Eye of Horus on the dollar bill right at the tip of the pyramid. They're telling you, we'll copy the system. Why didn't they come up with their own Eye of Horus? No, they're telling you what they just did, right?
Copied the system of the Roman Republic, not Egypt. It was actually the Roman
Who do you think the Romans got it from? Who you think the Romans got it from? The Romans got it from the people. They took over the land.
That's what I'm asking you is.
That's what I'm telling you. The Romans came into the picture. The Romans came into the picture in the 19th dynasty. Do you know that in the first dynasty, the oldest one was 600 years? So about time the Europeans came in the 19 dynasties, where were they then? They were either in caves or they did not exist on the planet. That's all I'm saying. That everything they learned today, even in math, writing, English, mathematics, came from these people who created it on the planet first. That's all I'm saying. However you use it, 1 + 1 is 2, and you can do the adding, but where'd you get it from?
Right. So I have a Chinese friend that I actually debate a lot, and he claims that they actually created it, right?
Oh,
everybody's got like a claim
yeah.
on who was first and who was that, right? So when I debate my Chinese friends, and the Chinese, they got like over 5,000 years of history, right?
Correct.
I mean, they actually have it documented and all of that. So they actually are people who really are in tune with their history more than even us. Ours is scattered around. We're guessing, you know, and speculating off of fragmentations of information and things like that, based off of history. None of us is there, so we don't know, but we have to kind of make some kind of assumption. We're all making some type of assumptions about it, right? But to say that, you know, those systems are greater than America's capitalist system of the day, I think is just asinine. You know, I don't think that it's better. I think that, you know, again, Egypt itself, in comparison to everything else around it, yeah, it was a great nation. That's why people went there. Like you said, they went there and do all these things as far as trade and stuff like that to make money. But, you know, I don't think that it was better than America today. You know, I think this is the best place and the best time to ever be alive, you know. So that's where I'm coming from.
I would agree. I don't agree with not knowing that it was better than then, because I don't know that. I'm not living that. But I do agree that this is right now in this dimension the best place that an inventor, one who has ambition, this is the best place to be. If you got ambition and you can really create some stuff, and you are a creator, you an inventor, this country is the best country. Now speaking to the Chinese guy, he's obviously a lie, because obviously here's something that's very interesting that I would say that the Chinese did. The Chinese also, if you look back in their history, they were Africans. Okay, if you look in Chinese, and we can talk about this with Dr. Moakil, where he's into Chinese herbal medicine, because the Chinese has reserved some of the medicines that we were practicing before the Europeans came out the cave, right now today, right? And so this is why it's very important to understand Chinese herbal medicine, because they got it from Africa. Right. So when you're talking about that, you're talking about who discovered it first, not who discovered it second. Because if you look at the pyramids and who built those pyramids, they were there before the Chinese had civilization. You go back before that, you go to Sudan. Sudan was building pyramids 200 or 300 years before Egypt was building pyramids. So we're talking what civilization before the Chinese can even claim that. They can't make that claim that they were here first. They can't make that they studied anything first. The Chinese cannot make that claim, because when you go back and study Chinese, you will see black people in China. You will see the Buddha with the big nose and the big lips in China, right? That's us. And that's evidence that we were there first before they transformed into who they are now.
They got 5,000 years of documented history, and they are well tuned with their history. So, you know, I'm not equipped to even challenge them on it. That's why I went and, like, I had my friend here. I was like, hey, I'm going to do some homework. I'm going to, you know, learn about your culture, right? I know about modern China. I know about Mao Zedong and Xi Jinping and Deng Xiaoping and all of these, you know, recent, you know, people. But I don't know about the ancient.
Right. Do you know how old the pyramids are?
Yeah. No.
Oh, boom, that's the problem. If you found out that the pyramids are 10,000 years old, and you said that's 5,000 years old, who's older? Who was here first? Right. Obviously, the ones who was 10,000 years old.
Right. See what I'm making the claim. I'm not talking about like the origination. right? I'm just saying like how they know just their history of 5,000 years is what I'm saying.
Oh, I got you.
Not that
Yeah.
they are the first people.
No,
You
they
know,
actually have their history intact. I agree with you. They kept it intact. Where we have scattered our history. We've been diluted. We've been infiltrated. We've been taken over. And even the Greeks came
well,
in
that's
and
what the Hebrews and Negroes documentary was saying. Actually, if you watch the documentary that Kyrie tweeted out, that's what it's saying. Like, people just scattered all around the Hebrew people. It wasn't just talking about blacks in America. It was talking about like the indigenous people and
yes.
Australia. It's talking about the
Mhm.
East Indians. There's I guess melanated people in East India. It's talking about the
Man,
Native Americans. All these people are
why
from
would they
these
get so mad
tribes here.
about that documentary?
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's what I was just saying. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
it's interesting.
Because it reveals some things, and what it reveals
Mm-hmm.
is
Yeah.
this: it reveals that the Jewish people we're calling Jews today are actually Polans. They're from Polish. They're not people of our complexion, but they have taken a religion. And what's interesting is that
Right.
my one drop of blood has more Jewish in it than the whole state of Israel put together. My one drop of blood does, because I'm melanated, right? And so that's something they can't be. And so when you hear that and you watch stuff like that, of course they will get upset because they don't want you to know that you the ones that they are actually mimicking.
Well, you would mess up the money flow as well, because again, I mean, remember Obama in office, he donated heavily to the Jewish organizations and communities, right? They get money based on uh, everything that they have set themselves out to be in this country. So yes, you would mess with the flow of money. Interesting conversation that we've brought to the table this week. I want to give each of you a last word as we talk about Thanksgiving as we exit our way out of here. And real quick though, well, not I won't do it. I'll wait to the end. And I got a quick little Thanksgiving video that I want to show. It's only a few seconds, and I'm sure you guys will love it. And it kind of reminds me of chattel slavery in America, and I'll show that in a little bit. But who
But
wants to go first? Pierre.
before we do, for the listeners, put in the chat what you like and agree with about Thanksgiving. Do you celebrate it? Is it a family thing? Put in the chat whether you like it, you don't deal with it, you don't. Whether or not do you celebrate it? What are you celebrating? What are you thankful for? Put that in the chat and let us know what you're thankful for
There you
this
go.
Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
yeah. Again, I think that we should be thankful for every day that we have air in our body. And it doesn't have to be on a particular day that the government set aside or what have you. However, if you choose to celebrate that day, I'm not mad at you. You know what I mean? So but I think that for me, things that I do enjoy about this time of the year is that you get to see family that you haven't seen in quite some time. So that's something that brings people together. People always come together over food. Like we were just talking about the Native Americans and the Europeans coming together over food, right? So coming together over food is, I think is a positive thing. It's a good way, and it's always good to catch up with people. And my young journey and my young life, I'm still growing and learning things. I don't, I try not to, do my best not to celebrate in paganism and things like that because of my faith. I'm not too sure if there's any pagan, traditions in the Thanksgiving holiday, but so far I'm not aware of it, right? And so I just see it from, the point of view of like, first of all, most people jobs is going to pay them to take off, right? So
Mhm.
that you say, why do black people celebrate it? Because everybody celebrate it. Your job lets you off, and they're gonna pay you to take some time
it's
off,
it's another
right?
day to come together to cook and have fun.
Yeah. You ain't even got to cook. You can fast if you want, whatever you want. But at the
I
end
ain't
of the
seen
day,
no black people fast on Thanksgiving. Never.
hey,
Never
I
happened.
know, but I'm just saying, your job is paying you to take some time off. So what you gonna do? You can take it. You can't show up to work no way. So you got time off. This is a time that you can relax and get some healing. But positive things. Hanging out with the family and stuff like that. I'm not really into sports. I'm not gonna be into the whole sports thing. That's just not my thing. But it's always a joy to be in the presence of loved ones. And because every year you just never know. Sometimes the families start to shrink. Sometimes people get missing, people pass away. You
Yep.
just never know. We take
Yep.
life for granted. And I think that, we definitely need to be reminded of it. And it's be great to be reminded of it on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? Not just one day. I make sure I talk to my mom, my sister, and all of them like every day now. As I get older, they mean more to me than I took for granted when I was younger, because you just never know, my brother and all of them, my best friends. I make sure I stay in connection with people all the time. Even you guys from across the way that, your guys in Kentucky, I'm way out here. And, just us congregating in this such thing is I'm grateful for, to be able to sit, at the table with the elder, to have, great discussions. This has always driven me. Yeah. Just communion with your brothers and sisters, man. So for me, I think it's a positive thing on that. And so, that's, I think that, we'll keep on moving in that positivity,
Absolutely.
What you think, John?
John?
Absolutely. Me and Pierre, we on the same point. I think that it's great for family gathering to come together and see family you ain't seen in a while. Hell, I eat. I go with my families and sit with them.
And remember, y'all heard it here. I mean, I want y'all to realize, what is it? He does eat. John eats. I think sometimes people think he just sits Indian style and floats drinking tea or
some shit. Maybe so holy and stuff. It's like, does he just drink? He don't eat.
I do, but here's the thing, and here's the thing, that the message that I want to bring during this Thanksgiving, because we're talking the cold weather, we're talking the season, and we're talking bundling up, right? So it's very important to eat proper food that is going to give you life, opposed to eating food that's going to make you sleep. And we talk about the immune system a lot, but do we know what the immune system actually is when we talk about it? Some people, it's not an organ. It's actually a lymphatic system that runs out through your whole body, right? And it plays a role with your blood and how your blood works, right? And so it's extremely important to understand how you eat. And I think this is the time to understand foods. This is the time to understand harvest. And like Dr. Akmal always say, eating for the season, eating foods that's in the seasons and within 100 miles near to you is extremely important. So I think at this time, this is the greatest time to think about health, because here's what happens. A lot of times after Thanksgiving, you overweight, you done ate too much, you done create high blood pressure, you ate too much sugar and those things. And so I think this is the time that we need to focus on our health, because like Pierre saying, we're dying out here. And every day you need to look at this, is that every day you're walking closer to your death. So you should appreciate it and be thankful for every minute and every moment that you have in life. Be thankful. I think gratitude is the number one thing you need to have, that you breathe this morning and that you just took another breath. To have gratitude brings you more. The universe blesses you when you are pleased with what it's already given you. So understand that piece, and you don't have to wait to Thanksgiving to be thankful. You don't have to wait to Thanksgiving to reach out to a family member that you haven't heard from, just to say hello, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to look at this moment as something that's going to push you as a catalyst on to something greater, to be a better person than who you are yesterday. And look at it from that point and be thankful with that.
All right. And guess what, man? I got a request for black people. I know y'all like throwing away some people. Sometimes y'all throw away Kanye West. Sometimes you accept them back. What I'm going to ask for all my black people is that it's 2022 heading to 2023. We are not in slavery time. Can we throw away chitterlings, please?
Yeah.
Can black people agree?
Man,
throw
please,
away
please.
Okay?
I'm in agreement.
Please.
I
Throw
don't
away
even call them
chitterlings.
chitterlings.
I don't eat pork. And I'm not going to smack you up for eating pork, but you can start by just getting rid of the chitterlings, right? Please do not serve that at Thanksgiving. My request.
You can tell he doesn't eat chitlins, and there's a lot of people around him that does not eat chitlins too, just by the fact that he calls them chitterlings. He enunciates it perfectly well. I tell you what, I think that is fantastic. We should definitely, culture cancel chitlins. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Culture cancel chitlins.
Culture cancel chitlins.
Damn.
You know what? Let's make that a hashtag. Hashtag culture cancel chitlins. Please. Please. It is a slave food. I mean, good Lord. You were better off with eating the watermelon rinds. I promise you. Versus the chitlins. And here, real quick, we're gonna just watch this quick little quirk video quirk. Again, this is
What you do, Bob?
What you do, bub?
I had
It's okay. You don't know him. You don't know him.
I think that's cruel, and that's what they did. You
With the
know,
turkey.
that's why that's very cruel, and I had to show it
Oh
because
man, listen, I
that's
always come through with the deep fried turkey. So the family they look for me to bring that deep fried turkey over, and that's what I'm doing. So if y'all ask what I'm doing, I'm gonna be deep frying that turkey, bringing it over to the family spot, and we're gonna get we're gonna get down on that turkey.
absolutely, absolutely. I feel you. I feel you. You know, my pops has done that. One thing I will say for
Hey, hold on.
Thanksgiving.
Deep fried turkey or roast turkey, man? In the comments, man. Which one do y'all prefer, right? In the comments. You want to deep fry, you want to roast? Which one you want? Which one you prefer? Or baked?
I think as a people, we need to not deep fry.
Okay.
In
I might
general,
be in the
but
wrong for it, but that's what I prefer right now. So I'm just
hey,
saying.
if you do it, if that's your once a year deep fried, food, then I ain't mad at you. If that's what you
So it's
do.
gonna be a bake for you, Joe, or a roast for you. What about you, John? Which one is gonna be for you?
I'm not a turkey guy, so I won't be
Not a
eating
turkey
turkey.
guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you was gonna get some of that good stuff that the turkey was giving off, man.
No, I mean, I'm familiar with the enzymes that's in the turkey that's good for the brain. I know Dr. Africa talks a lot about it in some of his theses of writing. But yeah, it does make you sleep, but it's good for the brain. So I'm not going to knock that piece.
Well, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, one of the best turkeys I ever did years ago. If you're gonna do turkey this year, let's see what is today. Okay, start the day before, the morning before, or the morning before you want to cook your turkey. All right, brine that bad boy. I'm telling you, get you a big pot, water, get you some sea salt, a bunch of herbs and spices, garlic. Drop it all in there heavy and let that mug sit in the fridge overnight. I promise you, the next day when you go to cook that turkey, in whatever way you cook it, it's going to be the most flavorful, juicy turkey that you ever had in your life. I promise.
I don't know, Joe. I don't know if it can mess with my deep fried turkey, man. I don't know, man.
We gotta have a turkey contest then.
Hey, deep fried turkey, man. I'm telling you, it's smack.
What I would say this year is with Thanksgiving, folks, one thing that we should do as a people is let's have a conversation. You got all your people there. Let's have a conversation about money, building wealth. You got all the people there with all the right ingredients. Everything in life that you want to do to progress and move forward is typically right in your circle, right? So all the people are right there, the people who you love. Let's talk about building wealth, coming together. You may find some people that say, yeah, I'd like to invest in some multi-unit apartment buildings with you. Let's talk about that. Let's further this conversation. I'm having more and more of those conversations with people around me, just talking, investing and stuff like that. These are things that I
ruining
wish.
Thanksgiving, Joe, talking all smart when they trying to watch football.
Hey man, some of y'all need to turn that dumb box off. Absolutely, for real.
They mad at you because you being too smart, man.
I'm just saying, at some point during the time when you got all your people there, have a conversation about money. I wish that when I was growing up, that was what was around the dinner table, more conversations about money and investing. Folks, we're behind the 8 ball on that as a people. And I think we can get ahead of the 8 ball if we just start changing some habits. And one habit is when it comes to us eating, have more conversations. When we got all the people there, have more conversations about money, building wealth.
Who's that person in your family that you can talk to about money? If you can't identify that person in your family, then perhaps you should become that person.
Absolutely. Or get another family. One of the two. I don't know. But I'm just saying.
No, that is right, because that's what we're lacking is at the dinner table to talk about how to build wealth. We also don't talk about health at the dinner table. That's there's two pieces there, and that will advance you well in life is to have great conversation, lots of conversation about your health and about your wealth and how you can build wealth. But being healthy is the number one you should be focused on. Setting and push away from sometimes push yourself away from the table. Stop eating all that macaroni and cheese and all the stuff that's going to clog your arteries. Push yourself away. Don't be the one that's got to gobble up everything to eat it all up, because strokes happen during this time of the season. Heart attacks happen during this time of the season. They don't talk about that. Strokes are up after Thanksgiving. Heart attacks are up after Thanksgiving. So pay attention to what you're eating. And I think if you have a healthy conversation at the dinner table, you will eat healthy.
Hey, listen, having a conversation at Thanksgiving about vaccinations, you know, that can probably cause some issues.
Yeah.
You might want
for
that conversation. I had the conversations the previous years about vaccination, but I was mindful of the people around, because I understand some people was like, you know, believing in that and stuff like that. But, you know, try not to offend people if you do have the conversation about vaccines at the Thanksgiving table.
Because wasn't it last year or the year before, people were even denied to come into Thanksgiving that they didn't take the shot? How dare you do that?
Man,
where we are now,
man, and where we are now is sitting here looking at the fact that it was literally all a farce. I went to the Hype Vision Reels. It was a showing last night of multiple different short films, and there was one. When I get the name of it, I'm gonna post it in the comments and on the page, but. This short film was dope, and it collabed a lot of stuff that from doctors all around the world that have been yelling, screaming at the top of their lungs that were silenced throughout this thing. And it's just interesting, you know, that's another conversation to have. You know, are we really free? Because right now, when we start looking at the way things are going, once you start silencing people, you know, their freedom of speech, you're talking dictatorship, and that's a scary thing. So all of us, you know, should be
we're definitely headed down the wrong direction.
Man, we should all be in an uproar about things like that. I don't care white, black, yellow, or blue. You all want your voice being heard, and if we don't fight for it, if we keep sitting back, I mean, sometimes I wonder if we keep sitting back and say, oh, well, that's their problem, you know, over there, and not speaking up and speaking out because it really does affect us all, then when it becomes our problem, you're not going to have nobody speaking up and speaking out for you, right? So we got to do it as a collective to say, hey, because this is the last place. America is the last place, you know, in the movie I was watching last night. Chinese guys say, look, I came here for freedom. It's starting to look like back home now. And he said, this is the last place. If we don't stand for this and fight for this in America, there's nowhere else to go.
Right. And with that said, I'm not quite sure is that somehow a smoke screen, because if you look at the system, we're talking about a system that's privately owned. We're not talking about a system that's government owned.
This is a corporation.
It's privately owned. We can own it too. We can create our own system and create our own dialogue, just like what we just did. We just watched Elon Musk buy Twitter, open the door back up to freedom of speech. So it's not government controlled. It's individual, privately controlled. And the problem is that we're not playing the game for ownership when it comes to this media. You see, BET, we're not trying to build a media system that we can support and be a part of. So it ain't the government knocking your freedom of speech. It's these private companies, because here's the thing. Facebook, you don't have a right. You don't have no privilege on Facebook. They can cut you off. Ain't no government system you can go and scream to and say, hey, you're denying my free, you're blocking my constitutional right. No, it's a privately owned system. What that means is you can create your own system and then have your own platform to put out what you want to put out. So it's really not going that way. It's the individuals moving it that way, in that direction of taking people's freedom of speech away. But we got the freedom of speech. All we got to do is own the platform.
Absolutely. Once again, folks, I want to make sure, you know, you guys see the commercials that we play, but I want you to understand something. HealthDaddyWow.net. These are people who actually sponsor and help this show thrive. So in return, we want you to check those people out. healthdaddywild.net. All right. It's just the same. You got Saya Baba, right? SYABABA. Is that .com, John?
Yep.
SayaBaba.com, SYABABA.com. Hey, you got again the crypto wrap up. You can go to the tippingpointshow.com, click on partners, and you will be able to click on all type of stuff, one including the Bitcoin campus, if you want more information to learn and help gravitate towards the understanding of crypto. That's one way to do it. And the Jack Boys, give them the Jack Boys website, Pierre.
WallStreetJackBoys.com. That's
Jack Boys with the Z.
With a Z, correct. WallStreetJackBoys.com, where I teach, stocks and options trading and economics. Also, I mean, you guys can support this channel here as well when we're live with the stars. I don't know if y'all saw that, but that's a new feature there. You guys can actually send stars and support the Tipping Point Morning Show, which is actually pretty cool. You'll see the little star right there in the little comment. Just hit those stars, and you can actually support the Tipping Point Morning Show. You send those stars.
That's dope. That's dope. We that's popping already. That's what's up.
Yeah. You got the stars popping, man.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out to, I think somebody sent some stars earlier. Actually, I want to think is Lacrease sent some stars early. So shout out to Lacrease.
What?
Yeah, for sending them stars. We appreciate that. It keeps the Tipping Point Morning Show popping.
Yeah, I literally got.
Oh, I see that now. Phyllis Myers sent us a star, also a diamond. I think she sent us a diamond.
Okay,
man, where are y'all seeing this stuff at? Because
in the feed, but it's in the chat, man.
It's in the chat.
It's in the what? Oh, okay. All right. Oh, so y'all got the page open too. Okay. All right, I got you. Hey, you know what, y'all? It has been a fantastic show. I'm celebrating. My parents actually just touched down at the airport, and they're gonna be here on the front end.
Oh, they in Louisville. Okay.
Yep, they're in Louisville. So you're gonna meet them, brother. And
awesome.
All of that, they're staying downtown. Put them up nice, kings and queens in my life. So definitely, I've been doing and orchestrating that at the same time as we've been here on the show. So I'm ready to get off and go and chop it up with them. And folks, you got your family around. Anybody, make amends with some people. It ain't worth the back and forth, the year long riff rat. We be trying to hold grudges forever in 15 days. So let that shit go, because I'm telling you, there is a certain, even when I read up, when I was dealing with Crohn's disease years ago, I read a book and it talked about stress and how stress makes Crohn's disease worse, right? So when I went and did research and I understand acidic waste and how acidic waste builds up around different organs of the body, and wherever that acidic waste may build up the most, then yes, stress, it's almost like makes it bubble and it'll affect that organ worse. So I'm telling you, let the stress go, the stress of even having a negative thought about your loved one. Folks, we can do better. Make tomorrow better than today, and then the next day make that better than tomorrow. So it's been the Tipping Point Show with yours truly, Mr. Just Ask Joe. We also got Brother John Yah, Esoteric Concepts, and my man Pierre, the Godson. Folks, next week we'll see you.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Peace.
Every person watching, share this 82 times throughout this week. All right, appreciate you. Peace.
You are listening to The Tipping Point Show with your host, Mr. Just Ask Joe, John Yah. You ready? Streaming live all over social media and on your favorite music and podcast streaming platforms.
Yeah, you know what it is.
Also, check out thetippingpointshow.com. The Tipping Point Show.